If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 265 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on September 28th of the year 2025, with another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Thank you, as always. The wild card, it is. It is late at night on September 28th. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get this episode out before midnight, to be honest with you. Midnight the 29th. I got started very late tonight because I had a very eventful Sunday after my awesome cousin's wedding yesterday. Really eventful weekend, and I'm only getting behind the microphone here around 9 o'clock at night, much later than usual. I'm going to try to get this episode out as soon as possible. It's probably going to not be as long or, action-packed as other past Yapping Yankees episodes because I do have work to go to tomorrow, so... Crazy weekend. I wanted to get an episode out to you, though, because the season is officially over. We still have plenty to talk about. We'll get to all of it. But as far as eventfulness, like I said before, probably not going to be much of a social media question. It's sort of just a question that I put out before that I may or may not mention depending on where time is in this episode by the time I get to it. Just sort of a general question that I didn't even frame as a Yapping Yankees question. Earlier on Twitter today, before the game started, just asking people if they really do think the Yankees were going to win the division or not at the time. And I got some replies. So, depending on how much time we have left at the end, I may read out some. If not, then it is what it is. But the wild card, it is indeed, my friends. If you remember last week, I left you with an episode that had a parting message to the Yankees of finish strong. It was the last lap. It was the last week. Their destiny was in their own hands. The Blue Jays were only a couple of games away. One more theoretically because of the tiebreaker, and that did end up making a difference this time around. That's why people emphasize the importance of winning head-to-head matchups, especially against divisional opponents. In case you are too stubborn to realize that at this point, and as to the importance of it, hopefully, this has now finally taught you that lesson. But regardless, the parting message was finish strong. And the good news is that the Yankees could not have possibly finished stronger, really, than they ended up finishing. A week later, here on the 28th, I now speak to you after the Yankees ended their season, having won their last 8 games in a row. I did say I wouldn't be surprised by at least one loss this week because despite how bad the teams are, the Orioles and the White Sox, especially the White Sox, wouldn't have been surprised if they just lost, maybe just one. It happens. It's a long season. Losses happen. But they did what they had to do. They actually won out. They won all 6 last games. The 3 against the White Sox and the 3 against the Orioles. All you can do beyond that, if you're the Yankees in that scenario, is hope that the teams who play Toronto do their jobs in helping the Yankees. Not that it's their job, just saying from the perspective of a Yankee fan, subjectively. Hoping that they do their thing and take down the Blue Jays while you do the winning, and hopefully you're able to get that 1-game lead that you need since you don't have the tiebreaker. Unfortunately, in the end, despite the Yankees' amazing efforts, one little game short.
Oh, no!
Unfortunately, you're correct, Mr. Joseph Joestar. Oh, no, indeed. The Yankees and Blue Jays did end up finishing in a dead tie. And they had the tiebreaker, so they maintained first place in the East and the top seed in the league. What that would have meant for the Yankees would have been quite nice. It means they wouldn't have had to play until this coming weekend. They wouldn't have to worry about the wild card round, and you have home field advantage straight through to the World Series, and possibly even in the World Series, depending on your opponent. If it was either the Phillies or the Brewers, wouldn't have been the case because both of those teams finished with better records than the Yankees and the Blue Jays did. But if it were the Dodgers or any other National League team, you would have even had World Series home field advantage. That's what that would have meant. And that would be quite nice, not having to deal with the anxiety of a best-of-3 wild card series against a divisional opponent, not having to play till Saturday, really getting to fully just reset your team in every facet, having home field all the way through to the World Series and possibly even there. These are very nice things you could have had. But, like we always argue, people seem to take early year games very lightly. And yeah, there's still a very long season after that, and those could be invalidated ultimately. Or not. Like in this case. The Yankees lost a lot of games early on that they definitely shouldn't have. And like it is naturally throughout a regular season, they probably won some games that they shouldn't have won. That's natural as well. But I think we could all agree after having watched an entire season of this team through the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, highs and lows and everything in between, they lost a lot of stupid games. Many of them early on were from Devin Williams alone. I don't think we can afford to forget that. But the blame goes around a lot. Maybe it was on the occasional day where the offense got a little quiet, despite the offense being a massive strength of the team on the whole throughout the year, which is just objectively true. They did a fantastic job ultimately with the big picture. Maybe the starting rotation didn't do what it had to do on a certain day. They're not always going to be perfect. But I think the facet of the team that I think we can all universally agree on was by far the weakest was the bullpen, whether it be Devin Williams alone or somebody else. I'm not pinning the whole season on Devin, but if you want to talk about part of the stupid games that were blown in the earlier part of the season, he was definitely a big part of that. He's been much better for a while now. That's also true. He deserves credit for that. But there was once upon a time that you cannot afford to ignore, especially now that the Yankees and Blue Jays finished in a dead tie. And that definitely had a massive part in it. But no matter what it was on a given day, you could always look back. The point of this message is early season games do have their value, and the losses add up. Look what happened to the Mets today. They did it to themselves. They're not going to the playoffs. They didn't score a single run on the ultimate day that mattered more than any. But you could also really afford to look back at earlier in the season, whether it be Soto or anybody else in the starting rotation with their non-existent pitching. Maybe a game that their bullpen blew. Regardless of the reason, you lose a lot of games you shouldn't lose. It adds up. Whether it happens later in the season or earlier in the season, it adds up, and it does have value. It's still 1 of 162, no matter what time of the season it happens in. And unfortunately, if you try to make it up at the very end, like the Yankees just tried to, and they did a very good job at doing so, I'm not devaluing that. Sometimes it's unfortunately too little, too late. Now, there's a very stark contrast between the Yankees and the Mets. The Mets are not going to the playoffs at all. At least the Yankees are still going. So that's very good. It's just that as a result of those factors I just talked about, the Yankees now have to worry about a best-of-3 in a series against Boston. And there are a lot of complicated feelings when it comes to this, obviously. Because Boston, although I do believe, I've believed all season long, and I still do now, that the Red Sox are inferior to the Yankees on paper. I do. Now, what happens on the field when they actually take the field for this series, that could be entirely different. And who the hell knows? The Yankees do have home field after all as well. But there are a lot of things that go into this. I think we would all be remiss if we didn't admit, objectively as Yankee fans, that since 2004 and before this, it was the complete opposite. Why I couldn't be a part of that era of fandom, I will never know. That's just the universe unnecessarily hating on me. But regardless, Before this, it wasn't the case, but since 2004, I think we could all admit the Red Sox have mortally embarrassed the Yankees on multiple occasions. Whether it be 2018, whether it be 2021, you take your pick, or any single other you could think of, any regular season examples, any other postseason examples since 2004, you take your pick. I am particularly not in the mood to be humiliated by them again, personally. So there's that, the hypothetical aspect of it and the emotional part of it, the sentimental part of it. Or you can look at the teams specifically. The Red Sox, in my opinion, are built to take a shorter series. I think the Yankees would have even more of an advantage if the series were a bit longer, best of 5, best of 7. And I know Bale had a little bit of injury troubles last time he was out there, but regardless of whether or not Bale's a part of it, this is a team that's going to throw Crochet at you in Game 1, a guy the Yankees have mortally struggled against. And after that, maybe you could bounce back. That's fine. It is just one game. You have 2 other opportunities to win after that. But it's a short series. And the Red Sox aren't so bad to the point where Crochet throws a great game in Game 1 and maybe they steal a game in Game 2. Then the series is over. Whereas in a series where you might get even more chances, the Yankees might be able to prove their superiority after that. Maybe they have more arms to throw at them than the Red Sox have to throw at them. Maybe the offense continues to be more resilient and they get more chances to bounce back and answer back. But this is a quick series. It's very quick. That's what has me nervous. In this era so far, in 2023, the Yankees didn't make it at all. 2024 last year, they won the division and had the top seed in the American League, so they didn't have to worry about this. Now the Yankees finally have to worry about this best of 3. They had to worry about the one-game death match with the 2 wild-card playoff format before. That went successfully sometimes, not successfully other times, the Red Sox being one of those unsuccessful stories back in 21. But now they have to deal with this best of 3, which, yeah, there's another chance beyond best of 1. It's better than that, but it's still a short series. I like that the Yankees are going to be at home. I do like that. But this series does come with its huge degrees of risk. And I have a lot of trepidation about it, that's for sure. We'll see who they throw out there for Game 2, the Red Sox, and beyond. I'm pretty sure we all know, and the official announcement is out there, so it's not a prediction, but I think we could have all guessed that it's going to be Crochet and Fried in Game 1. You got to hope that Fried goes out there and gives it his absolute all, which you know he'll give it his all. We just don't know the results, what they'll be. But Crochet is going to be tough. He had himself a fantastic season. And he almost always carved up the Yankee lineup. It's going to be very difficult. Ultimately, the Yankees landed here because they did it to themselves. They did. And they didn't hold the cards because they didn't have the tiebreaker. Does that make me any less frustrated with the Rays? Absolutely not. They're completely useless. Was that too blunt or something? Yeah, I mean, they just rolled over and died to the Blue Jays this weekend. I mean, the Red Sox, it was tough rooting for them temporarily in the middle of last week, but my God, they did their job, beat them 2 out of 3. Game 3 wasn't so pleasant for them in Toronto, but the Red Sox did their job by fending them off, winning 2 out of 3 and allowing the Yankees to tie things. But the Yankees couldn't get any further no matter how much winning they did because the Rays just provided no help over the weekend. My good friend Dan Rourke on Twitter and all around social media, go follow him. He's with John Boy, and he does a terrific job with his content. He's a good guy. He's a friend. And he put out a post. I wanted to give him a shout-out here because he got me chuckling earlier today. Put out a post. I don't want to misquote him, so I'm gonna find it on Instagram. It's a funny post. It was right before the game started because today, like we've been saying for a while now, and we know if you've been watching baseball for years, every game for Game 162 always starts around 3 Eastern. Every game starts and ends around the same exact time on the last day of the year. But before action began, he put out a post. It was about 10 hours ago from now, so it was probably like late morning. He goes, "Reminder Rays baseball," he added them, that if not for us, you guys would be homeless. Show some class and return the favor today. It's great. Oh, God. So I got to give a shout out to Dan Rourke and Yankees Avenue on that one. Go follow Yankees Avenue. Go follow Dan. He'll pop up right away. He's very popular, and it's all deserved because he's great at what he does. But just had to give a shout out for that hilarious post. Honestly, very, very funny. So, but yeah, I mean, the Rays, they just did nothing to help the cause. Nothing. Not that it's their job, nor do they probably care at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, they didn't help. From the Yankees' perspective, they didn't help. All that was needed was for the Blue Jays to lose one little time, and the Yankees would be the 1 seed and first place in the East right now. But, like I said, ultimately, it's on the Yankees. They didn't do their job. For a lot of games they should have won earlier on in the season. They didn't do their job head-to-head against Toronto. Ultimately, they did. In their last meeting, the Yankees won 2 out of 3. But ultimately, throughout the course of the whole season, they didn't do their job, and they paid for it in the end. You get what you give. What you put in, you get back at the end, you know? So that's it. That's really all there is to it. But again, doesn't take away from how the Yankees did in this past week. They did themselves a very nice job, and they did their job. They won out. They won out. They ended the season on an 8-game winning streak, ultimately finishing this season with the exact same record as they did last year with Juan Soto. How about that?
Holy crap!
Yeah, for real. I mean, it's nothing to crap on Soto with. He certainly helped things along, and they would have been much worse without him. But, I mean, what does it tell you? It tells you that the Yankees, maybe they didn't really absolutely need him. He was a big part of getting to the World Series and a big part of their regular season success, absolutely. But they don't absolutely need him, and it shows you how good their pivot ultimately was, too. I mean, Devin, for a huge chunk of the season, didn't work out very well at all. Finished strong. Look at what Cody Bellinger did. Look at what Max Fried did. One of the finer interim ace seasons I've seen or heard of. Paul Goldschmidt, especially in the first couple of months. Look at how he did. Fantastic. The trade deadline additions. Caballero, today you saw a little bit of the downside to his aggression. You've seen it multiple times lately, but still the stolen bases, the pestiness. He's just all over the place, and he'll give you great defense, versatility. So that was a good addition, ultimately, I would say. Helped lessen the pain a little bit whenever the Yankees would allow him to play amidst Volpe's extreme struggles. Wasn't too often, should have happened more, but that's besides the point. Helped with that whenever he did get a chance. Bednar was a fantastic addition to the bullpen. You go into the playoffs still just really, as far as people you're 100% rely on and show confidence in, he's really the guy. Maybe you have some reasons to believe in somebody else a little bit, but he's like the guy you believe in. So pivoting, whether it was the offseason or the trade deadline, the Yankees added a lot of pieces. And it proved to be successful because they finished with the same record. I'm pretty sure that before the season started, you'd have to hold me to this. I don't remember because of how long ago it was, and I don't feel like going back in the episode log and finding the specific episode and the specific timestamp in the specific episode where I said this. I'm too lazy for that, and I don't expect you to do it either. But I'm pretty sure that before the season started, I did say that on paper, despite how great Juan Soto was, they were able to plug a lot more holes with not having to pay him. And because of that, on paper, certain areas of this team I felt were better than the 2024 team that just made the World Series. And because of that, I think I gave them 94 or 95 wins, basically around the same thing, or maybe one more win. So basically right on the money with that, ultimately, maybe just plus or minus one win. I was pretty on the friggin' money with that. That's how I felt about this team. And at the very least, they were exactly the same record-wise. We'll see how deep they go into the playoffs. Circumstances are very different. They don't have a bye from the wild card round this year like they did last year, and the opponents are not going to be exactly the same. Not nearly. You have Boston and Toronto in it this time. You might have to face Seattle. You might have to face the Tigers. You faced Cleveland. The Royals aren't in it this time. So The brackets are different. Circumstances are different. Positioning is different. But we'll still see the end result as far as the postseason. But it's crazy how it all ended, man. It really is. It's really a shame the Rays didn't do their thing to have things finish more favorably for the Yankees, and they'd be off until the weekend and just reset things.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, the Rays, I agree. But listen, this is how things were meant to end up. The Yankees are responsible for where they land ultimately. Regardless, it wasn't the Rays' job to do that. Just would have been awfully nice, but this is the way it ended up. So, as for saying that, now for the last few weeks, we've been doing a lot of if the season ended scenarios, if the season ended today scenarios, rather. Now, let's see how the season actually did end. So, the Yankees and Blue Jays, and this is just shows you how unfair it can be with, being stuck in certain divisions rather than others. Like if you were in another division, maybe you'd have a bye, but you don't now because you're in the AL East, and the only other team that's better than you or the same as you who has the tiebreaker is in your division. Therefore, you have to deal with the wild card, whereas others don't, even if they're worse than you. But this is how things ended off. The Yankees and Blue Jays tied for the best record in the American League. However, the Blue Jays, as we know, had the tiebreaker. So they get first place in the East. They get the top seed in the league. They get a bye. The Mariners finished in first, their first division title in about a quarter century. They finished in first place in the West. They get the 2 seed because they were the second best division winner. Not the second best team in the league, mind you, because that would belong to the Yankees, since they don't have the tiebreaker at the Blue Jays, but because the Yankees are unfortunately in the East in the same division as the Blue Jays, they are not entitled to a bye like the Mariners are, even though the Mariners finished worst. They're the second best division winner, so they get the bye. The third best division winner was the Guardians. Now, Cleveland, this one is super interesting because we spoke about it last week. The Tigers were up 15 and a half games on them at one point, and then slowly but surely, that biggest lead ever to be blown just eroded away little by little, and the Tigers ended up having the biggest divisional lead collapse in the history of Major League Baseball, allowing the Guardians to steal first place and win the division.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I'd say that's worthy of another holy crap given the circumstances and the context here. I mean, 15 and a half games, we can't talk about that enough. Now, the only thing is that regardless, they were going to be in the wild card round anyway because that division was likely going to be the third best division winner, so they're going to have to participate in the wild card round anyway. But it's still winning first place over being a wild card team, and that says something, especially when the now wild card team once led by 15 and a half games. So it's unbelievable. But the Tigers are going to have the opportunity to get the last laugh, even after all of that. And if they do, ultimately, yeah, everybody will always remember the biggest divisional collapse in Major League Baseball history. I'm not trying to pretend like people won't remember that still. But if the Tigers do ultimately end up winning this series, that will definitely, I would say, lessen that, and they would certainly get the last laugh here, because now the playoffs are all that matters. The regular season is done. But since the Tigers now won the third wild card, they face the third best division winner. Like I said, best against the worst. So, after all of that drama, and they just faced each other a few days ago in Cleveland, the same thing is going to happen now, a second time 1 week later in the playoffs. Best of 3 in Cleveland. Tigers and Guardians for the last laugh after everything. So that'll be interesting. That's going to be a lot of fun. And with the Yankees finishing in the first wild card convincingly so, 5 games ultimately over the second wild card Red Sox. Those two are the ones who face each other. Since the Yankees finished ahead, the best of 3 will be at Yankee Stadium. So the American League wild card is very, very exciting. Detroit and Cleveland, after all their drama, and the Yankees and freaking Red Sox at Yankee Stadium, both for best of 3. That's going to be insane. So the American League wildcard picture, chef's kiss, if you want my honest opinion. That's awesome. Despite my anxiety against Boston in a short series, when they have a couple of pieces here and there, despite the Yankees overall being better in my opinion, a couple of pieces to make a case for a short series victory and steal one away, despite my anxiety about that, that's going to be a badass matchup. And so is Detroit and Cleveland. So we'll see what happens. That's freaking awesome. And also worth mentioning, the Houston Astros are not in the playoffs.
Give me a hell yeah!
Hell yeah. It's just a breath of fresh air. That is very, very nice. Seeing them just come up short the last couple of years with October is quite nice. And if people want to just crap on me and say I don't have a right to say that, they've owned us the last few years. Yeah, they have. They absolutely have. But I think anybody in the position of Yankee fans with this context and these circumstances would be just as happy as we are to see a rival like that just miss October altogether, especially with this highly inclusive playoff format, to put it mildly. So it is quite nice to see. So that is the deal with the American League. Over in the National League, this has been the case with the seeds, so it's not surprising for a while now, but Milwaukee finishing with the top seed, a game better than the Phillies in the second seed. And then the Dodgers being the third best division winner. So they will be facing the third wild card, same sort of matchup situation as the American League, which in this case, because they finished in a dead tie and Cincinnati had the tiebreaker over the Mets, they will be facing the Reds. The Reds will head to Los Angeles for a best of 3 against the Dodgers. And then wild cards 1 and 2, and this has been this way for a long time now, so it's no surprise, but it's going to be very exciting, I think. Cubs, first wild card. Padres, second wild card. Best of 3 in Chicago. Since Chicago finished better, they get home field. I don't think this wild card is nearly as exciting as the American League, personally. That is not even just bias talking. I'm just speaking objectively from context and circumstances and scenarios and rivalries, the whole deal. I think the Cubs and Padres is going to be a lot of fun. I happen to think both of those teams are great squads. I think that'll be very fun. And who knows, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the Reds and Dodgers will also make for a very good time. But I personally think that the Reds are very flawed, especially compared to the Dodgers. I don't think they're a bad team. I just think they're fine. They have good pieces for sure, but they're fine. I honestly think the Mets on paper, talent-wise, are far better. I do. Head-to-head, the Reds proved otherwise, and the Reds are going to the playoffs and the Mets are not. That's really all that matters. I understand that. But just purely talent-wise on paper, that's how I feel. Ultimately, I think either loses to the Dodgers. But that's my personal opinion. I could end up being wrong. But I just don't see that being on the scale of fun or rivalry-inducing drama. I don't see that on the same level. I don't see that matchup on the same level as the other ones, whether it be the Cubs and Padres or either of the American League wildcard matchups. That's just my personal opinion. Again, I could end up being wrong. It could end up being a great series, in which case I will shut my mouth. But that's how I feel. Either way, that's how things are arranged right now. And as for after that, the Blue Jays are waiting on the winner of the Yankees and Red Sox, the 4 and 5 seeds, being the first and second wild cards. So whoever wins this series between the Yankees and Red Sox will go to Toronto for a best of 5 for the American League Division Series, the ALDS, and they'll do a best of 5. So either way, the Yankees are starting both of the first 2 rounds against divisional opponents who, on the whole, they did not do well against during the season. Finished off well against, yes. Overall, throughout the season, did not do well against. By far had losing records to both. Which is why in the event of a tiebreaker, they would have had a tiebreaker to neither like they didn't against the Blue Jays. So very interesting, and this is why divisional gameplay, again, even more so beyond just the tiebreaker, is very important. You have to be able to defeat your divisional opponents. In this case, 3 teams in the American League East are in the playoffs. Meanwhile, in the American League West, there's only 1 team going to the playoffs, and that's the Mariners. That's it. Central has 2 in the Tigers and Cleveland. That's fairly ordinary. That's fine. That's fair, I guess. Second place, especially if you had yourself a convincing season, that's deserving of a shot, I think. But again, because of divisional circumstances, 3 AL East teams here. All the more important to defeat your divisional opponents. So that's the alignment there, and obviously, whoever wins that series between the Yankees and Blue Jays, or the Red Sox and Blue Jays, depending on who moves on after the DS, will go on to face the winner of the other bracket on the other side of the American League. Which, speaking of that, has the Mariners, since they are the 2 seed, the second best division winner. They're waiting on the winner between Cleveland and Detroit. The 3rd seed, the 3rd best division winner, Cleveland, and the 6th seed, the 3rd wild card winner, Detroit. Whoever wins that best of 3 goes to Seattle for a best of 5 for that DS series. And whoever wins that will go on to face the winner of one of those 3, Yankees, Red Sox, or Blue Jays in the CS. And after that is obviously the World Series. On the other side, the Brewers are waiting on the winner between the Cubs and Padres. The Phillies are waiting on the winner between the Reds and Dodgers. And so on and so forth. So this is how things are arranged now that the season is actually over. No more if the season ended today scenarios. The season has ended. And that's how things are arranged. So it's pretty badass. I cannot wait. Looking ahead, the games start right away on Tuesday. And no weirdness has to happen tomorrow after a weird rain out with the Yankees and White Sox because it was really sketch with the weather there. They did get the game in, so we do get a day off tomorrow. That would have gotten really interesting. The ideas being thrown around of what would have had to happen if the last game was meaningful and that had to be played, how they were going to fit that in. But nonetheless, no baseball for tomorrow since the regular season is now over and everybody's got to get ready for the playoffs. They got to go where they got to go and prepare. Get things in line. Reveal the postseason rosters. Reveal how they're going to do things. Get in place and get ready to rumble here. Action will kick up almost immediately on Tuesday. The schedule for all 4 of the games, American League and National League, Wild Card Series. 1:08 Eastern, the Tigers and Cleveland will start the day. 1:08 Eastern Time. In Cleveland, Scoob will be going for the Tigers. Nobody announced for the Guardians as of yet. At 3:08 after that, we switch to the National League. Padres and Cubs in Chicago. Pavetta's going for the Padres. Nothing announced for the Cubs yet. After that, at 6:08 p.m. Eastern, Yankees and Red Sox at Yankee Stadium. That'll be on ESPN. Tigers and Guardians, ESPN as well. Padres and Cubs on ABC. ESPN, Yankees and Sox. 6:08 Eastern. Crochet against Freed. That's going to be epic. And I think we all know who I hope comes out on top without even saying. Lastly for the night on Tuesday, 9:08 Eastern. Reds and Dodgers in L.A. No pitching matchups announced for that yet. They take up action right away again on Wednesday. The same teams at the same exact times as before. For the Yankees and Red Sox, nobody announced for the Red Sox in Game 2 yet. Rodon is Game 2 for the Yankees. For the Guardians and the Tigers, nobody's announced for pitching matchups there yet. Same for the Cubs and Padres and the Reds and Dodgers officially. I mean, in the next few hours or tomorrow morning, this could change on Monday, but right now, that's the deal. Nobody announced yet. And then Thursday, the same thing. Same teams at the same times, same places, same channels. Those things aren't changing at all. Everybody's on ESPN except for the Padres and Cubs. They're on ABC. Thursday, no pitcher announcements are announced for any of the teams. No starting pitchers. All TBD. By then, whether it takes 2 or 3 games for any of the series, The wild card round will be done. That's it. After that, everybody gets a day off Friday. Saturday, the DSs begin for the American League and the National League. So those will start. Those, regardless of how many games those take, if they go all the way through, then that could last until next Saturday, the 11th. Not this coming Saturday, the following. Because the latest this could go is if the NLDSs made it all the way to Game 5, either of those series, those would happen on Saturday the 11th, October 11th. After that, Sunday the 12th is when the CSs begin. Which, again, as a reminder, is the next time we're going to be yapping here, because next weekend I'm going to be away. No episode. I know, crappy timing in context of baseball, but I'm not going to be in town. I'm not going to be able to record. That is how it is. On the 12th, which is why I was also saying it's going to be very interesting, because the Yankees could either be in an amazing position and you'll get a euphoric Mike, or things could be vastly different. Maybe the Yankees just got eliminated at the end of the DS. Maybe they got eliminated all the way back in the wild card round by then by the Red Sox, and I have long since been miserable and have been able to collect my thoughts. Or they will be playing ALCS Game 1 on this very day, on the 12th. These next couple of weeks, from when you hear from me now and the next time you hear from me, my God, the differences that it could be. Holy mother of God.
Oh my God!
That's right. So the CS starts on that day on the 12th. And whether it be the American League or the National League, the longest that could go is Tuesday the 21st. And that's if the NLCS makes it all the way to Game 7. The ALCS will have already been decided the day before if that goes to the max Game 7 on Monday the 20th. Tuesday the 21st, if the NLCS goes to Game 7, that's the latest that the CSs can go. At which point, Friday the 24th, the World Series begins, and the latest that could go is Game 7 on November 1st. And that's it for 2025 baseball. So that is a complete picture, especially since you're not hearing from me for a couple of weeks after this, of what is to come from here all the way to the very, very end. Just figure I'd paint that whole picture for you and get it all out now, since Lord knows the state of mind we're going to be in come October 12th for my next episode. Oh my God. I am so nervous for that. Wow. That really is something. So that's what's ahead. Now, if we want a little bit of a break of what's ahead and all the anxiety for that, everything that I've already said and expressed, why don't we take a little bit of a break and reminisce about this past week, something to be happy about. Despite the end result not quite being what we would have liked to the utmost degree, and that's getting the top of the division and the top seed, but how the Yankees managed to finish off the season and win out. So what do you say we jump in the Yapping Yankees time machine for the last time of 2025 when it comes to the regular season, doing a full-on weekly recap, because there's less games in a week in the postseason, so there's no more Yapping Yankees time machine. But for the regular season, when there's usually the typical amount of games to go over, 6, maybe 7 games if they play every single game during the week. 6, 7, I know that meme, I know. I realized it as soon as I said it. But typically that's usually the real weekly recap, when there's a whole week worth of games, or maybe just 6 or even 5 if they have a couple of days off, who knows. But this is the last one of 2025, really. Real last authentic Yapping Yankees time machine. So why don't we loosen up and reminisce about a really good last week, final week of Yankees regular season baseball in 2025. Yapping Yankees time machine. Let's go over it real quick. Let's go.
This is where the fun begins.
You're not wrong, Anakin, because this past week was a fun one, like we said. So we go back to Tuesday, because, again, the Yankees had off on Monday, so this started the final lap of the 6 games to end the 2025 season. Yankees-White Sox in Game 1. Starting this game for the Yankees was none other than Luis Gil. He went 6 innings, allowing 2 runs, striking out 3, and walking 2 and giving up 4 hits. And the game was looking good at the beginning when Austin Wells hit an RBI double in the bottom of the second. But then in the top of the 6th, when Gil gave up his only 2 runs to Colson Montgomery, really the only hitter worth anything in this White Sox series and for much of the White Sox lineup. But other than that, it was 2-1 at that point, and the Yankees actually looked like, amidst everything with the circumstances with the Blue Jays and all of that, that they were actually going to blow this game to the White Sox, which would have been just an absolute travesty. Fortunately, a rally was worked up in the bottom of the 9th, starting with guys like Volpe and Wells. Got to give them the credit where credit's due, despite the frustrations they've given us at many points throughout the season. And I still want to know what was in that damn cortisone shot they gave to Volpe. I'm still curious about that. But they worked up a rally, bottom of the 9th. They were able to come back. Bellinger walked with the bases loaded to tie the game. And there was also the wild pitch that allowed Volpe to come home and score on that. And then Jose Caballero, for the first time of his career actually, put out a bloop into center field. Definitely looked like it could have been caught, but what do the White Sox freaking care? And fell down. And Aaron Judge came home to score the winning run, and Jose Caballero got the first walk-off of his entire career. Yankees won 3-2, so thank God they didn't lose that one. As we know, they would go on to not lose a single game for the rest of the week, but still. Fried pitched game 2, and for the second start in a row, another 7-inning gem by the Yankees' interim ace. 7 innings of 1-run ball, only allowing 4 hits, 2 walks, and striking out 7. Finishing his season earning the victory with a 19-5 record, a 2.86 ERA, a whip of 110, 189 strikeouts in 195 and a third innings pitched. A lot of career highs for Max Fried. Strikeouts in a season, innings pitched in a season. That kind of record with that kind of ERA, to be honest, I mean, it's incredible. He's had lower ERAs in the past by a bit. I don't really count 2020. That year was phenomenal. 7-0, 225. So that's great. Don't want to completely discredit him, but we know what that season was. And in 2022, he was 14-7 with a 2.48 ERA in 10 less innings pitched. And he also that year had about 19 or 20 less strikeouts. So you can compare and contrast. If you care about wins and losses, I mostly don't, especially with the relievers. But with starters, I mean, he was 19-5 this time around. ERA not that much higher. Did make a couple of more starts and more strikeouts, more innings pitched, whatnot. But this was undoubtedly one of the best seasons of his whole career at age 31. What a first year by Max Fried. I have said it for months and months, even amidst his struggles, believing that he would bounce back for the rest of the year. He did just that. And between him and Rodon, I really don't think it's spoken about enough how vital it has been for the Yankees to have these two step up the way they did, especially in light of the Yankees being without Garrett Cole for the entirety of this year, which is another line of subtext to really add about how amazing it was how the Yankees managed to still finish with the same record as last year without Soto. They lost Cole. These are two humongous, vital cornerstones of the team who were huge reasons to where they got where they did. Without them, and they still managed to do what they did. And Max Fried and Carlos Rodon was already here. But as far as Fried, especially being one of the many acquisitions they made in their pivoting, whether it be last winter or at the deadline, you have to talk. It can't be talked about enough, to be honest. And I don't think people are talking about it enough. How Fried and Rodon, the importance to this team that they held. It's really remarkable. It really is. As for Rodon, considering he got the start the very next day, we'll get to him in just a minute, speaking of him. But other than them scoring their sole run off Fried, the White Sox being in the top of the second, the Yankees really took control almost immediately after that. Aaron Judge with his 50th home run of the year. I said it. I knew he was going to do it. It was more obvious than anything. They were going to be facing the White Sox and then the Orioles, who he also massacres. It was going to happen at some point during the week. This came as no surprise to me, but equally as joyous was I. 50 home runs. That really made his campaign that much more definitive. And it was just amazing to see him hit 50 home runs again. I gave all the accolades last week and the week before that too, I believe. He has hit 50 home runs for the 4th time in his career, the 3rd time in the last 4 seasons of his career, which is remarkable. And considering he finished today with the batting title officially with an average of over 330, 331 to be specific, is nothing short of absolutely remarkable, my friends. And we'll get to talking about Judge even more after the weekly recap. But homered for his 50th time here. Goldschmidt got an RBI single. Jazz Chisholm Jr. with an RBI double. Trent Grisham, the GOAT, with his most recent and final home run of the year to tack on with the score, driving home McMahon, 2-run shot, home run number 34, officially doubling his previous single-season career high. Remarkable, the season that Trent Grisham had. Unbelievable. And then to cap off the scoring, Aaron Judge, for the 2nd time in the game and 51st time of the year, homered once again. So a very nice game for Judge and for everybody. Just in general, phenomenal. And the 3rd and final game came around, and Carlos Rodon was on the mound, as I mentioned before. Definitely didn't have his best stuff. Didn't take away from his season overall. We obviously talk about how amazing and how big of a part he had and everything that he always has been this year. And this didn't take away from any of that. But on this particular night, he didn't really have it like he usually did. The final line was still that of a quality outing. 6 innings, 3 runs, 1 walk, 4 hits, 5 strikeouts. No doubt. And he did get the win. And he did achieve his 200th strikeout on the season. He finished with 203 to be specific. After all of this, 18-9, 3.09 ERA, 195 and a third innings pitched, exactly the same as Max Fried, ironically enough, but with 203 strikeouts in those innings pitched. Remarkable job by Carlos Rodon. Just, again, it can't be said enough. It really cannot be said enough how amazing of a season this guy had. It was also only the 2nd time in his career that he hit 200-plus strikeouts. He did so in 2022 with the Giants as well, when he struck out 237, which is insane. That was the Rodon that we were always hoping we would see, or anything close to that, when he was signed by the Yankees to be Garrett Cole's 1A. And this year was by far the closest that we have gotten to that. And I think we were damn close to that version of Rodon. That was basically him at his peak, more or less. I mean, in 2021, 2022, it really was fantastic. 23 was what it was. 24, except for that little month stretch that he went through, really was, I mean, it was a part of us, so you can't take it away. But if you do, it really was terrific. And this year, it's been terrific. So again, all credit where credit is due. I have given Rodon a very hard time a lot of the time. And in those times, he did deserve it. I just tell it like it is. I don't know how else to tell you that. That's just the way it is. But you also have to do the same when it goes the other way. It's just part of being fair and objective. And this year, just wow for him. That's all I have to say. Absolutely unbelievable what he was able to do. Even the whip of 105, just my God. Congratulations, honestly. Completely deserving of all of the accolades and all the praise this year. Just unbelievable by Rodon. The partnership between him and Fried at the top of the rotation this year, where things were looking real hairy, especially when we knew Cole was not going to be around, when Schmidt went down, they were missing Heel for over 4 months. It was just a lot. And Rodon was just a remarkable source of stability alongside Fried. Just amazing. They were durable. They were effective almost every time. Fried went through that little month-and-a-half-ish trial there. It's fine. We all experienced bumps in the road. Look how he still ended up ultimately. And as a whole, just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And the bullpen after him in this particular outing did well also. The Yankees did jump out in front at first. They should have definitely gotten more runs. I mean, a lot of this series was just them leaving a village of base runners on the bases. But this is another example of that in the bottom of the first. Other than a Ben Rice RBI groundout driving home the first run, should have definitely done a lot more. But then Julks hit a sacrifice fly in the second. Michael A. Taylor, frustratingly so because he has like no power, but somehow muscled out a home run to right center field in like the first row. 2-run shot made it 3-1. So we were like, oh, what is Carlos Rodon doing giving up home runs to someone like that? Especially amidst how important these games are. So we were just getting worried as Yankee fans after that. I kind of had a feeling they were going to come back. I trusted in them, but it's like just giving up home runs to someone like Taylor and Rodon just didn't really look as sharp as he usually has. And so just getting a little worried. But I had some faith, and it's a good thing I did, because in the bottom of the fifth, Stanton put them right back out in front with a bases-clearing 3-run double. So just as everybody was talking about how much he's been struggling, and he was, but bro looks exactly like I expected him to look with October right around the corner, because October will cure any Stanton struggles because of what he usually does there. So that put them ahead 4-3, and then Wells with an RBI double of his own in the bottom of the seventh put them up 5-3, and with the bullpen doing their jobs, specifically Weaver, Williams, and Bednar, Yankees sealed the victory 5-3 as well as the sweep. So that was really relieving and very nice, and it was just part of finishing strong in the last week. But the job wasn't done yet because they had more work to do against the Orioles, and work they did. They definitely did. Will Warren started the first game, and he definitely wasn't really at his best. I mean, he usually has that one inning where he melts down. He had a couple where he didn't look too great. The only one where there was really great damage done was the top of the third inning, which temporarily put the Yankees down from having a 2-0 lead. But ultimately in the whole day, 4 runs allowed on his line. 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk. So he didn't walk many people, did strike out 7. So his final numbers on the year, 9-8, 4.44 ERA, 171 strikeouts, and 162 and a third. And like I said, because of the circumstances I described last year, he's probably going to have a role in this rotation at least a little bit for a chunk of the first half. So hopefully he continues to learn and grow. There is still work to do, but we did see times of promise out of him, and that I won't forget. I definitely don't want him getting any postseason starts, and maybe they put him out for long relief in the bullpen. I don't know. Or maybe he doesn't even make the roster. I doubt he makes at least the wild card roster. I don't think he would. Beyond maybe long relief, but probably not even that. We'll see. But, yeah, I mean, points of promise and things to potentially look forward to if he continues to develop in a good direction, for sure. But there is still work to do. So, and I think this last start really personified that for Warren. I mean, between the walking issues at many points throughout the year, just letting things get out of control in certain innings, not being really good in the face of adversity at times, and I don't know, just it's tough. He has great stuff, but when he loses control of it, it gets ugly for him. It just does. He's got more polishing to do. That's really all I can say. And Mark Leiter Jr. came in, and that's a whole other story. Didn't really make good of much of anything else. He just doesn't really know how to capitalize in a rough situation, unless it's a negative. But other than that, the rest of the bullpen did their job as well. But the Yankees did get started off with the scoring 2-run shot by Stanton for his 22nd, and then that's when Will Warren gave it back in the top of the third. But then Judge, with his 52nd home run of the year, put the Yankees back ahead as he continues to just spank the Orioles. Just iconic numbers. He now has over 50 career home runs against them alone. That is just utter insanity when you put that in perspective. Insane. Gave him the lead back with that 2-run shot for his 52nd. And then Stanton, right after that, a couple of batters later with his 23rd, made it 6-3 on his own 2-run shot. Ultimately, by the end of the game, Wells, RBI single, Stanton, RBI groundout. Yankees did get the win 8-4, and it was a necessary good start to the series. Unfortunately, Toronto did win on this night, as they would for the rest of the weekend. They did again lose the first 2 to Boston, but then did win on Thursday night. despite the Yankees also winning in their final game against the White Sox. So the Yankees were able to gain those 2 games in the first 2 nights of the series that happened Tuesday, Wednesday for each team. But then despite the winning against the Orioles too, nothing was able to happen because, again, the Rays are useless. Saturday came around, though, and Cam Schlittler got the start. I'm very glad he finished the season this way. Very strong finish for the young kid, and I couldn't be happier. 7 innings of shutout baseball. 2 hits, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. Killer outing to end his season. A season where he was yanked up here because they had little other choice. Heel was not back yet. Schmidt went down for the rest of the year and is out for the foreseeable future. Cole's not around. He was kicking ass in the minors, gave it a shot, and look what happened. He, of course, had his occasional moments and starts of difficulty, but over the whole of it, guys, oh my God. 4-3 win-loss. I mean, it is what it is. Only value that so much when it comes to certain guys especially, but 2.96 ERA in 73 innings. 84 strikeouts in that time. 122 whip. That was mainly because, he got into a lot of trouble with walks at times. So he's got a little bit more polishing to do. We know that. But the stuff is devastating. We also know that. The potential is there. At such a young age, and the pitches he has in his arsenal, it's off the charts, the potential. I cannot wait to see this kid's future even beyond this. I cannot wait. And if he gets looks in the playoffs, I very much look forward to that too. Because everybody's been talking about, especially now that Boston has confirmed that Heel's history against them and just being more of an experienced pitcher, that Heel could very well get Game 3. We'll see what happens. But whether it be in the bullpen or the rotation, in the wild card round or any round that the Yankees could make after that, and even just in future seasons in general, I cannot wait to see Cam Schlittler's further progression going forward because this kid has got what it takes. He just needs to do a little bit more polishing like anybody else who's just come up, and that's really it. He's got what it takes, though. So terrific outing by him, and the Yankee offense just did what they do. 53rd and final home run of the season came in the bottom of the first inning for Aaron Judge on this day, on Saturday, yesterday. Phenomenal. And I'll get to Judge in a second, because we have a lot of accolades to give beyond what we already have. But the bottom of the second, Stanton also homered for his 24th and final time of this season as he caps off, at least as of when he played, a terrific season for himself as well. Because, I mean, in a season where he had 249 at-bats, 24 home runs, you pace that out over the course of a full season between 500 and 600 at-bats, you're talking over 50 home runs for him, too. And 66 RBIs in that time, OPS in the mid-900s, batting average even over 270. We know average has really seldom been his strength in his career. A fantastic season for the time period that he at least played for Stanton. Unbelievable. And we know with October coming around, the further infinite possibilities of what could be still to come for him. I cannot wait. But that put a cap to his incredible half a season that he played, give or take. Ultimately, this year, as far as games that he played 77. So, yeah, basically almost split right down the middle as far as game count. About half the season. But for that time period, Madone, was it phenomenal. Even McMahon homered to hit 20 home runs. So, ultimately, as far as everyday starters, Volpe was really the only major one who didn't achieve 20 home runs this year. He sat at 19 for the last month or two for a while. So McMahon actually hit 20 despite his extreme lack of ability to hit. We know he's not here for his bat primarily, so that's okay as long as the defense is as stellar as it is. But he did hit 20 nonetheless. Judge, RBI single, 2-run single actually in the bottom of the 5th. Cody, sac fly after that. And that was the last of the Yankee scoring. Final score is 6-1. And then you had today, Yankees winning 3-2. They had opened up the scoring in the bottom of the first with a Ben Rice solo shot, his 25th of the year. Then the Orioles jumped out in front 2-1 before the Yankees came back again in the bottom of the 4th on a Stanton RBI single, with then in the bottom of the 8th, Ben Rice homering once more right before the end of the season. Solo shot his 26th to give the Yankees the 3-2 lead that they would take to victory. So the Yankees, again, 1 out. Final record, again, same as last year, 94-68. They did all they could. Like I said earlier in the show, wasn't enough because they didn't have the tiebreaker, but nonetheless, they did finish strong. They did. Got to give them that. Whether, regardless of their situation or how much of their fault it was or any of the circumstances that I spoke about at the start of the show, you also got to give them credit for finishing as strong as they did. They won out. Can't do any better than that. Didn't lose any games this past week and finished off the season with an 8-game winning streak. It's pretty badass. And Luis Gil did get the start on this game as well. 5 innings, 2 runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. And how he finished his brief season, just the 2 months or so that he pitched, 4-1 record, 3.32 ERA, 57 innings pitched, and 41 strikeouts in that time. Was not that usual high strikeout guy that we know of. Many outings he looked good. Many outings he was the concerning bit of a wild Luis Gil that we have come to see every once in a while. So that's just kind of how he is. He has a very good history against Boston, and he is obviously more of a veteran pitcher than anybody else in the rotation outside of Rodon and Fried currently. So he's probably going to get that third game. Like I said, it'll probably be him against Giolito. We'll see, because the Red Sox are going to be throwing out Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito. For the Yankees, it's going to be Fried and Rodon. We know that for sure. It's probably going to be Luis Gil for Game 3. Probably. But we'll see. We'll see what they decide. But Gil finishing his season somewhat strong despite the 2 runs he gave up in the top of the 4th inning. But nonetheless, made it through. Bullpen took over after him. Fernando Cruz made us nervous. Still got it done. Weaver looked good. Devin looked good. Bednar looked good. Finished it off. Yankees win 3-2. And that's that. As far as individual players, well, you had Trent. We described it. How amazing of a season. The 235 average, yeah, but there is much more of a picture to paint here. 34 home runs, 74 RBIs, 812 OPS. Really great. Fantastic job by Trent. Overall. Definitely has extended periods where he was fantastic. Had his extended periods where he slumped. Overall, terrific. And he made a case for himself for next year. I mean, it all depends on how they view Jones and what they want to do with him. They let Goldschmidt go. You could put Bellinger at first. I mean, this is all off-season talk. We don't have to talk about it now. We know all the potential scenarios that could take place. We've hit on them already. But made a case. And there's a good chance that he will get himself pretty handsomely paid for the season that he just put out there. After having signed a 1-year deal and putting out a season like this, regardless of whether it's from the Yankees or somebody else, he'll get decent money at the very least. I think it's safe to say. So great job by Trent Grisham. A gift to watch him this year. Same thing for Ben Rice, man. Same thing. 255, I assume that'll only continue to improve as he gets older and older and gets more playing time and more plate appearances. 26 home runs in the end, 2 today, 65 RBIs, 836 OPS. A lot more stats to go through, but in general, that's really it. Fantastic season by Rice. Really good. And I can't wait to see the capacities they use him in for next year. It's going to be very interesting. But let's not rush ourselves. Got to get through the rest of this, see how he goes throughout the postseason. I'm going to skip over Judge for now because I have a little bit more I want to say about him. But then you have Bellinger, who, again, terrific season. It's a shame that he couldn't hit 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, but guys, still, I mean, what the hell? 272 average, 29 homers, 98 RBIs, 814 OPS. And the fielding and the versatility in doing so, it all speaks for itself. You want to talk about another gift this year and a big part of the Yankees' remarkable pivot that still led to them having the successful final record on the scale of last year still, despite not having Soto or Cole? Bellinger, like I said, was a huge part of that. Massive part. I expect him to opt out, as he should, because he just had himself a fantastic season, and who knows what he's still yet to even do in the postseason. Hopefully great things. This could even add to all of these guys' campaigns, even more so than they already have. Trent, Cody, anybody else who will very well either could possibly be or is definitely going to be in free agency this offseason, depending on opt-outs or who's just automatically going to be a free agent. They've made cases and can make even a stronger one in the postseason. We'll see. But Cody, already terrific. I'm sure he's already opting out, but I hope this is a guy that the Yankees hold on to because, like I've said, despite all of the statistics to further back it up that we've always been through this week and even in past weeks, all season long, it just feels like Bellinger belongs as a Yankee. It's just one of those guys you feel belongs here. So I couldn't be happier with Cody. Really couldn't be. I'm so thrilled about that. Stanton, already said everything I said about him before. Terrific for the time that he did play. Austin Wells, I mean, it's just more of the same feeling. Still very irritating a lot of the time, his approach at the plate. Yeah, and the extended periods of slumps he goes to are pretty freaking incomprehensible. But at the same time, he'll also go through some really good spurts. He will give you some power, and that power will lead to some decent stats like 21 home runs, 71 RBIs, especially out of catcher. 711 OPS, could be worse. It's not awful, it's not great either by any means. And the low average, you come to expect that out of a catcher, so that's fine. And the defense really very much improved, so that's also a very welcoming sign. Curious to see, again, what he does in October. This is not his first one, so it'll be very interesting. And how they manage him next year, because obviously we know the potential status of Ben Rice and his involvement in catcher, or if they want to make another catching move, if they plan on putting Rice at first more often, in the event that Goldschmidt doesn't come back, which I really wouldn't expect him to. So, again, a lot of things, a lot of offseason talk that we can get to, but let's focus on the here and now. A lot of mixed feelings about Austin Wells' season. There's good things to look at, and there's also quite a bit of bad things to look at. Bit of a mixed bag. But we'll see what he does in October. Ryan McMahon, we know the story with him. You're not getting offense, you're getting defense. When you get offense, it's terrific because you are getting the defense. You know you're probably not going to get any offense. So when you do get it, fantastic. That's the short story. Jazz, he did have a bit of a scare when he got hit by that pitch in the forearm the other day. I'm glad it was just that. A scare seems to be day-to-day. All tests were clean, so that's good. But his season as a whole, too, batting average in the 240s, I could live with everything else. 31 home runs, 80 RBIs, 813 OPS, 31 stolen bases as well, so 31-31. So this kind of production with numbers like this, I mean, in general, it's really good, but especially on the scale of a second baseman, guys, you're getting this almost nowhere else in baseball. Almost nowhere else. So because of these things, despite the fact that he could be a bonehead sometimes, in general, or in the field, regardless, sometimes you might not like his approach, but Jazz is still an option you bring back after a season like this, I do have to say. I hope he is not nearly as brutal this October as he was last October, especially because that's really what matters, because last October he was a nightmare. So I pray that doesn't repeat itself this time. But that's really that. I hope that he just stays here for the long term. I do, because as long as he produces even at least somewhat close to this year after year, it's worth it for second base, man. It's worth it. Then you have Caballero. I mean, yeah, he gets thrown out on the bases quite a bit. He's very aggressive, and sometimes that's to his detriment. But you got yourself a pesky ball player, and the Yankees, I feel like, seldom ever had that, so it's nice to finally have that. The passion is there. The versatility and great defense is there. The occasional surprising offensive moment will also be there. So he's good to have around. He really is good to have around. And as far as the main guy who we've, for most of the season, had the misfortune of seeing, I think it's easy to say. Obviously, I speak of Anthony Volpe. Listen, for about 5.5 months, utter misery. I've said it. Utter misery. Even when talking about the whole shoulder thing recently. But again, like always, you give credit where credit is due. Last couple of weeks or so, 2-3 weeks, whenever it was specifically that he got that cortisone shot, again, I don't know what was in that thing, but since he got that, there's been an improvement. Defensively, offensively, getting on base more, bat to ball more. Still has his points of frustration, and, some at-bats you want to smack him around a little bit. But, I mean, other than that, the defense, we've seen an improvement there. And the offense, I mean, you see bat to ball a bit more often. You do. It's still not anything that's like beyond off the charts by any means, but there's a bit of an improvement there. If he takes it into October, he will become very favorable in the minds of many. Very favorable. Because October is where legends are born. We know this. And he is still young. If nothing happens in October, last October he did fine. The Grand Slam was really the capital point. It was like the ultimate point of it, absolutely. But other than that, he did fine. And I hope he does at least that this October if he's going to be getting the playing time there. Because, I mean, it's what they got right now. That's all I can hope for. I have my personal feelings on. We know that. I would have given up on him a while back if I were the Yankees. But he's here. What are you going to do? So, absolutely abhorrent, vast majority of the 2025 season. That's just the way it is. We'll see what he does in October. And it is very interesting that we did see an improvement in things with the cortisone shot. Maybe it did help. Maybe the shoulder did play a little bit of a part in it at least. Definitely not nearly all of it. He still definitely needs to very much be held accountable. And especially the Yankees as well, if it just really was as just brutal of a mismanagement as some people were saying it could have been. But that's Volpe. That's him. So just pray for a decent October. That's really all we can do. And Dominguez, we'll see if he gets much playing time. I'm not really sure if he will. We'll see ultimately. It just depends on how the Yankees want to do things with the outfield and how they want to alternate things around. I mean, postseason isn't time to alternate around anymore. You got to stick with something, what you feel is best, and just go with it. That's really all you can do. You don't really have another choice. It's not the time to be rotating around and experimenting on things. Not at all. So we'll see how they manage it with guys like him and Ahmed Rosario. Rosario better be getting a start against Crochet because, I mean, not many people have a read on Crochet like he tends to have at times. And you need all the help you can get with righties, but especially just players like him as a righty, just anybody. Better at least see Rosario against him. But yeah, other than that, that just about covers everybody worthwhile on the offense, guys, except for the biggest of all, Aaron Judge. And we'll talk about the bullpen a little bit after this, and then I think we'll wrap for the day because it's getting real late. I got to get ready for tomorrow, and that time is ticking away on the episode here. But the biggest one of all being Aaron Judge. Final season numbers after the week that he had, guys. 331 batting average. And yes, that is a career high despite the amount of times he has already hit 300, which has been multiple times, 3 to be exact. Batted 284 in his incredible rookie season. Year after that was 278, 272 after that, despite 2018 and 2019 having their injuries. Then 2020, which is a screwed up season in itself, and he missed some time. That was his lowest one, 257, but who gives a rat's ass, right? 287 in 2021, which was a very nice season. 311 in his remarkable 2022 season. 2023, even though he missed the time that he did, it was floating around a 270 average. And even in the time that he did play, the short time, 106 games, 37 freaking home runs. We spoke about how remarkable that is in that time, too. And then 2024 and 25. I mean, we know those years, what he did the last couple of years, batting well over 300 in both. But this year even higher than that, which was 322 last year. Just gets better and better, man. Only a single point separated their his on-base percentage for last year and this year. 458 last year, 457 this year. Slugging this year is only 13 points lower. 701 last year, 688 this year. It's just stupid. It really is. And that little gap resulted in the small gap in OPS as well. 1159 last year, 1145 this year. Just stupid numbers. Stupid numbers. Video game. 541 at-bats, 179 hits. Unbelievable. It's just remarkable what Aaron Judge did this year. 53 home runs with all of that as well. 114 RBIs. 124 walks. And of those walks, 36 being intentional, which passed Ted Williams for the all-time American League single-season intentional walk record. So in case you need any further evidence as to who the most feared hitter, not only in the American League, but all of baseball really is, there you have it. All of these things are enough evidence to really define him as the MVP, even more so at this point. He is also, with that .331 average, solidifying himself as the batting champion this year for the American League. And in all of baseball, by the way. Led baseball in plenty of stats. Plenty. Beyond that. On base, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, WRC plus, and by far, it's absolutely just it's mind-boggling. There's nothing you could say. And the fact that you have people who might be experiencing fatigue and being less appreciative of the history we are being witness to. The kind of production and history that we're probably never going to see again by another player, at least one who's clean. It's amazing to me how some people just write it off just because of the position that somebody else plays and what they were able to accomplish there. Again, not to minimize it, but guys, in case nobody happens to know, you'd have to be under a rock to not know this. Raleigh did hit his 60th home run. Remarkable. Absolutely incredible. Part of a very exclusive club being in the 60 home run club. And all on his own as far as switch hitting, catching. Yeah. Fantastic. Nobody is minimizing his season in of itself. Speechless. Incredible. Now, if you remember what I said last week and even the week before that, I said if he were to hit 60, I think there'd be a little bit more of a discussion that could be had, although I would still give it to Aaron Judge. Wouldn't be that easy, but I would give it to Judge, even though in basically every single other metric you could possibly measure in baseball, outside of home runs and RBIs, and the home runs only 7 divided them. Judge should have had 54 because of that GMS robbery ultimately. Can't forget that. So in reality, what should have been only 6 home runs divided them, and that will account for a lot of the difference in RBIs too. Which, with that difference, was, to my understanding, I believe it was, Judge finished with 114, and Raleigh didn't drive in any runs today, I don't believe. So he finished with 125. So 11 in difference. Guys, it's not enough. The only argument that anybody has is the catching thing. That's it. And listen, it is a bit of an argument, but is it enough to account for the discrepancy? Quite the discrepancy it is in all of the statistics outside of home runs and RBIs. It can't be ignored. And people want to talk about first time this, first time that with Raleigh. Who the hell says Judge isn't accomplishing a lot of first times himself? You know what else he accomplished? As of today, with the season ending, he is the only player in Major League Baseball history to hit 53 home runs and win the batting title. I know a lot of people want to completely invalidate batting average in today's day and age. I know people want to do that. I'm well aware. Judge's batting average, though, whether you like it or not, it's another indicator amongst many of a person's hitting ability. There's about an 85-point difference in batting average. 85 points. OPS, guys, ultimately had about a 200-point difference. 200 points. The on-base and slugging as a result of it, since that's a combination of, also 100-plus points in difference. It's not even close. Even if you want to value the defense, I know it's tough to when it comes to catching and how tough it is to evaluate that, but you look at any freaking defensive stat too. If they try to have anything that accounts for the difficulties of catcher, maybe in comparison to an outfielder, like in this case, even those stats, Judge is superior. It would have been a much more difficult argument to make, and you definitely wouldn't have been able to convince any writers otherwise if Raleigh broke Judge's record and hit 63. But Raleigh hit 60 a few days ago, and he stalled at that. He didn't hit any home runs over the weekend against the Dodgers. I knew he would hit a decent amount of them against the Rockies, because what in the hell do the Rockies care? They were throwing him meatballs. But he stalled. He didn't even tie Maris. But I still think, unfortunately for Judge, I'm not saying I agree with this or that I would do this, I just think that the writers are going to go with the very simple narrative, catcher 60 home runs, put the blinders on and turn their ears and eyes off to absolutely everything else. I think they're going to vote Raleigh MVP. I hope I'm wrong. There's, of course, a chance that they don't do that. I hope I'm incorrect. But I think they're going to let the narrative just continue to sweep them off their feet. And they're not going to do the right thing. And I think Judge is going to get robbed of his second MVP. Because truth of the matter is, he should be going for his fourth right now. He should have won in 17. If you compare all of his and Altuve's stats, this is an age-old argument that we know well of by now. He should have won in 17. And he should win this one. So if the world were perfect, then in November, he should be winning his fourth MVP. In reality now, he should be winning his third. He probably won't. Because a catcher hits 60 home runs. Again, no one's saying it's not incredible. But we are just saying, if we're making it about stats, and it's very interesting when you try to debate a Mariners fan on stats, it's like, why do we have to go to the numbers? Even Greg Amsinger said that on MLB Network. Why do we always have to go back to the numbers? Something of those sorts, he said. I'm paraphrasing. Like, what the hell do you mean? That's what you go by. You go by what you saw the whole season, the dominance that Judge had. You give Judge some of the time that he lost with that week and a half with the elbow issue. You give him how many at-bats back with the intentional walks? He had what, about double the intentional walks of Raleigh? Who's more feared in your opinion? Even Jeff Passan, who's more reliable than just about any writer or reporter out there. He said he just scouted a lot of his fellow writers and especially the players. And the most feared hitter amongst everybody is Judge. It's self-explanatory to me, guys. It's not even me talking as a Yankee fan. I'd be willing to debate any Mariners fan on this, and I guarantee that once we've weeded past the catcher hitting 60 home runs narrative, there's no other leg to stand on. Any other leg is in support of Judge, objectively. That's just the way it is. I don't need to talk much about this. I've beaten this, to the point of being a dead horse the last 3 or so weeks. But, Judge being well into the 50s in home runs and Raleigh being at 60, which, the fact of it tells you just being a one home run difference. It's just a matter of the narrative for the writers. I think personally that Judge would unconditionally win MVP. I would even trust the writers to still do that if Raleigh stopped at 59 and did not hit 60. But now that he hit 60, you hear the way that some of them spoke. I just think that's what's going to do it for the writers, and they're going to turn everything off. They're going to be blind to every single other statement or thought. And that shows you how wrong it is, because you can't go with the narrative. You got to go with the truth. Who is the better player? And who had the better season objectively? Look at any stat you want to look at beyond the home runs and RBIs. And RBIs being mostly team dependent and also happening majorly because of the home runs, if you're doing it in timely circumstances too. So really specifically the home runs. Look beyond that. Any stat you look at paints you the picture of who the MVP is. That's all I can say at this point. I don't trust the writers to do the right thing. Hopefully they prove me wrong and do the right thing and vote the person in Aaron Judge, who deserves to be the MVP, especially in light of the home run record for the American League in the single season not being broken. And I hope that's what they do. I hope they do the right thing. I'm not, and people ask me, like, why you care so much? Like, oh, shouldn't you be concentrated on the playoffs and winning a World Series? Absolutely. I would give up Judge winning the MVP if it meant the Yankees getting a ring. I'm sure Judge would do that in half a second himself, too. But that's not the point. I'm fighting hard for it because I care about my captain, and I don't want to see my captain robbed of an MVP for the second time. I'm not particularly interested in seeing that happening, when it would blatantly and objectively be the wrong thing. If the stats were much closer all around or even superior towards Raleigh and he was batting in the 300s and maybe the OPS was maybe 50 points away instead of 200 and everything else was as close as it was and he was having a platinum glove-esque season like he had in the past. And that's another argument. People using past accomplishments for this year. Saying, oh, he's a platinum glover. He ain't this year. The past years aren't relevant to the 2025 MVP race. You don't hear me mentioning Aaron Judge's 62 home run season for an argument for 2025, do you? No, I'm not. I'm making 2025 arguments. You're making old platinum glove arguments. He has not been platinum glove-esque this year, so that's not an argument for 2025. So if that was a case, that'd be another thing to use for that. And maybe I'd say, you know what? Raleigh does deserve it. It's not a big enough discrepancy, given what he has also done with the home runs. Tip your cap, move on, congratulate him, move on with your life. It's not so. The discrepancies are massive. He is not a platinum glove catcher this year. Overall, or in his career, yes, because he has won it, but it's in the past. We're talking about 2025 awards. And I know if anything major happens in October in the playoffs too, people are going to let that sweep them off their feet too, because they forget that the MVP is also a regular season award. So that's to be accounted for too. That'll probably sweep people off their feet if anything happens there too, and that's not right either. So we'll see. I don't trust the writers. We'll see what happens. You know my opinion well off by now. I probably spoke about it longer than I should have, even this time as well. But I just had to get that all out again, especially with how Judge has officially ended the season. That's mainly why I felt the need to repeat myself, because now these stats are the final ones, and we know the deal, and we know the final statistics for the both of them, and can accurately compare without speculating if there are any more games left to play. There are no more games left to play in the regular season. This is the way it is. So that's that. Judge, the rest of the offense, I guess those are my thoughts on all of that stuff. So you want to use the first times, Judge does first times too. You want to use platinum glove, it ain't this year, and Judge is a damn fine fielder himself, and we know that. And if you want to use any of the other offensive stats, well, home runs, fine, terrific. No one's devaluing it. Look at anything else. So that's that. And the bullpen, all I can really say from a general standpoint, and then we'll end after this. This is a very important point because I think the Yankees' October success is going to be dependent on the bullpen. There might be days where the offense vanishes and it's their fault if they happen to lose a game and the offense disappears. Sure, but that's going to happen. I think it's going to be, on the whole, what we saw for much of 2025. I think it's going to be predicated primarily on the bullpen because by far, if you had to compare it directly as a whole, overall for the whole season, if you had to compare it to the starting rotation and to the starting lineup, or just the offense overall, it was by far the team's biggest weakness throughout the whole season. They blew a lot of games the Yankees shouldn't have lost, whether it be a certain individual or just collectively. And I think they'd be in a very different place. I think they would easily have over 100 wins if the bullpen was at least competent. At least competent. Not even saying phenomenal, just competent. So I think what they do in October is going to be majorly dependent on the bullpen's ability to hold games. My brain trust, I've been open about it. Cruz has been making me nervous lately. Weaver, he looks good and bad at flip-flops, so a little nervous about that, see where that goes. Devin's been fantastic for the better part of the last couple of months. He has been. But do I still get beyond nervous in big situations for him? Yeah, I do. And I hope he handles October okay. But I still have my nerves and trepidations about him. Tim Hill, especially if he's facing a lefty, but even sometimes against the occasional righty, I believe in him. You got to be careful with how you use him, too. Bednar, it's money. We know that. Very confident in him. And maybe the long relief guys, if somebody like Schlittler's out there helping out with long relief. If Warren's out there with long relief, I know to help certain other guys who are already long relief, like a Blackburn or a Yarbrough. If they're on the money, then that would make things even better, but the bullpen has got to be on the mark. It is such a big part of what the Yankees will or won't do in October. Even if it's just in a short series like the wild card series, that's my feeling on it. The bullpen is the biggest point of concern and the thing that we should all keep our eyes most strongly on in the playoffs, whether it's short-lived in a wild card series or further beyond that. It's very important that they're on the mark. More important than anything else, in my opinion. The starting rotation, I thought, was going to be the biggest concern coming in because of all the circumstances surrounding it. And all throughout even just beyond the beginning of the season. Losing Clark, still being without Heel for a while, and, not knowing what Schlittler was going to be when he first came up here. And just having, Fried and Rodon really being the only points of confidence. And even Rodon, we know what he had the tendency to do at times. So it could have been a disaster. It was a lot better than we could have ever expected. I think we could all say that. I expected Fried to be great, but not quite this sharp. Maybe a little bit worse. But even better than expected there, too. So the bullpen, against everyone's expectations, especially considering the names on paper, turned out to be the biggest problem. It's going to be majorly on them. And I'm pretty nervous about it, but we got to trust them. What are we going to do? We have to trust them. So that's the deal, guys. And that's really it. The next time we yap is going to be on October 12th. And like I said, you could get very, very different versions of Mike at that point. It's pretty concerning. You're either going to get an overjoyed Mike who's getting ready for the ALCS to start. You'll get a sad Mike who was just sad that they might have just gotten eliminated in the DS. Or you'll get just a very numb and sad and upset and beyond humiliated Mike if the Yankees have been out for a while after losing to the Red Sox immediately in the wild card round. There are a lot of different potential versions of Mike that you could get from now until we yap again in 2 Sundays on the 12th. But again, if you want to keep up with me, because you're not going to be hearing from me for 2 weeks on this show until we can reconvene again and talk about everything that's happened and hopefully what's still to happen for the Yankees at that point, hopefully, you can follow me on socials. I'll be talking about the playoffs all throughout, especially on Twitter in particularly. Go follow my handle, Twitter or X, at Mike Scudero. I'll be repeating that in a minute. But just keep up with that. And on my Instagram as well, Mike Scuds97, I post about the Yankees very often, especially on my story. If you want to keep up with it, follow me on those. That's where you could do that. It's going to be very interesting to hear which Mike you're going to get. And very interesting to imagine ahead of time which Mike you're going to get in 2 weeks. So just the last reminder, I'm not going to be here next Sunday on the 5th. No episode next Sunday. I will be away. The 12th, that is when we reconvene. I cannot wait for that. That is going to be something. Wild card series coming up, guys. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I know some people are going to probably wonder why I haven't mentioned the ABS news as well. Well, it's really, what else am I going to say about it? I'm thrilled about it. We know I've been wanting the ABS system. They had announced this past week that they're officially going to implement the ABS system even for the regular season, starting in 2026 to challenge balls and strikes. We can always talk about the further details into it, like how many challenges they'll get and the situations around it and whatnot. But hey, I'm thrilled about it. That's the deal. people talking about how it's going to delay the game. Guys, it takes like a little over 10 seconds to do. And especially if you're limited, you're not delaying the game at all, and you're getting the right call in a potentially huge spot. What the hell is there to be upset about? For real. Like, I know replay has its downsides, especially when it comes to things on the field, but it seems like this is going to be more self-explanatory. Does it hit the zone or not? So they're going to have a lot of in-depth technology to really be able to tell. So that's that. We'll see how it works, but I'm thrilled about it, obviously. That's my short synopsis version about it. I mean, what the hell? You expect me to be bummed about it with how much I hate these umpires? So that's the deal with that. I wish it could be started now for the playoffs. Hell, I wish it could be started right now. But that's the deal, my friends. I cannot believe we're here. The regular season's done. Playoffs are around the corner. We shall see what happens. For now, my usual final reminders is that is all for 265, episode 265 today, my friends. Like I reminded before, I'm going to remind again, follow me on all socials, especially because I'm missing an episode in this vital of a time period. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. That one's a bit inactive, so I wouldn't really prioritize that. Prioritize Twitter or X and Instagram. Twitter, at Mike Scudero. Instagram, Mike Scuds97. Follow. Especially these next 2 weeks with everything coming up, since you won't be hearing from me on this show till the 12th. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees also in the meantime on all 4 platforms it's available on. That's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment wherever you may be listening. Show your love, spread the word, like usual. If you missed any Yapping Yankees episodes 1 up to episode 265 today, every Yapping Yankees episode that ever was, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And episodes 34 up to 265 today, when I started uploading there for episode 34, those could all be found right over on YouTube. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on October 12th, when I come at you with episode 266 of Yapping Yankees in God only knows what mood. Until then, hang in there. Be patient. Please stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, like I always tell you to do, my friends. And I only hope and pray for the same thing for the Yankees in the wild card round. And if they make it beyond that and beyond. Like I said, I sound the way I do because I have anxiety about this series. Crochet and Bayo are not easy match, especially Crochet. Not easy matchups to face. And the Red Sox are geared, in my opinion, on paper as a team who could definitely find success in a shorter series because of these things. Anything could happen. I do think the Yankees are the better team on paper. I do, and I think they would definitely win a longer series. But this one makes it more interesting, and because of how the Red Sox are constructed with a few really key important pieces that can make the difference in a shorter series, it's a different story. So, even though I think the Yankees are the better team, the Red Sox could very well win this. And again, this the humiliation factor. Oh my God. I have my trepidation. I have my confidence, but I also have my trepidation. We'll see, guys. Stay tuned with me on social media in the meantime. That's all I can say. But until the 12th, until we yap again, take care, and let's go Yanks.